at the end of the day, I can tell you everything you need to know in one word. Story. Stick with the story. Figure out the story. Stick with the story like glue. Don't abandon the story. Don't betray the story. Know the story you want to tell. And in a funny way, it sounds like that is actually very narrow, but it's actually huge and vast, because the subtext for the composer is that there is a subtext, because you don't want to go and tell the story that they're telling beautifully, elegantly in images and words. You want to go and slip in underneath and find that bit that they are not illuminating yet, that takes the whole thing just that step further into sometimes a metaphysical world, sometimes into a more emotional world, sometimes just figuring out how to color a scene in a slightly different way. But at the end of the day, you are everybody on the film. If it's a good project, a film becomes successful because everybody has decided that they want to tell this one story, and it's just they're using their different voices to tell that story. I suppose it's a delicious meal, and I suppose at the end of the day, I don't see myself very differently from a chef. I go, here's the task. The guests are coming at 8 o'clock, and they want to have an experience. And so I go out and I see what's available. Are there fresh tomatoes? Oh, look, those carrots look good. Potatoes, da, da, da. So you get all this stuff, and then you spend an inordinate amount of time peeling potatoes, chopping onions, and all that sort of stuff. And then at 10 to 8, you just put it all in the pot, and you have hopefully a delicious and fresh meal. So I don't think the process is that different. With the one caveat, you just always in the back of your mind, stay on story, stay on story, stay on story. There's an obsessive quality about the whole thing, because what you try to do is you're actually trying to figure out how you're going to live in this world. So there's a bit of method composing that's going on, where yes, I'm a lot more fun to be around when I work on a romantic comedy than when I work on The Dark Knight. You just don't want to be around me then. I do become the Joker. I do become all of those things. I found over the years I have a strange way of working where when I start on a project, really what happens is, rather than reading the script, I'd much rather sit down with the director and say to him, tell me the story, because then I know what's in his head, what his emphasis is, where his thoughts are going. He might not tell me all the details, and he certainly won't recite bits of dialogue to me, but I know what sort of a movie we were doing. I mean, when Ridley Scott phoned me and said, hey, let's make a Gladiator movie, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm not good at 9 o'clock in the morning, I started laughing because I imagined he was going to make a movie with men in skirts and sandals. And even though it was a movie with men in skirts and sandals, it wasn't a comedy. It was something completely different. And, and the same thing happened. I said to him, okay, tell me the story. And as he told me the story, I don't hear tunes, I hear fragments, I hear sounds, I hear bits, but I'm starting to narrow in on a common language that, that we can use. And there are lots of ways of telling a gladiator story. There are lots of ways of telling, Thin Red Line is another example where I sat with Terry Malick probably for a year before he started shooting, because lots of war movies had been made, but there was a way of doing this. There was a different way of doing it. There's always something still left unsaid, musically and in the human condition. And I think that's the sort of thing we aim for. I think the rules come in that first conversation you have with the director, where he's describing what his vision is, and he tells you the story, and as he's telling you the story, he's telling it within the framework of his rules already. I remember really not wanting to do pirates. Actually, it was ludicrous. I was working with Gore Verbinski on The Ring, and I was sort of going, so what are you doing next? He said, I'm thinking of doing this Pirates movie. Pirates movie, hmm? Yeah, it's from the ride, the Disneyland ride. Oh, give me a break. What, with the dog? All this. So I was just making fun of him all the time, you know? And, so every, because we were working on The Ring, and I said, I'm absolutely no way am I doing this, right? And at a certain point I said to him, so how's this pirates thing going? And he goes, well, I got Johnny Depp, and I went, Johnny Depp thinks it's interesting. Okay, but I was just being me, I was just so I misheard his rules, or he never told me the rules. He never told me the story he was going to tell. I stopped in my imagination with, it's a pirate movie based on a ride. What could be a worse idea? And then one Sunday he phoned me. He got into a bit of trouble with the music, and he said, would I have a look at it and maybe help out a bit? And I looked at it, and it was nothing that I could imagine. But there was there was an absolute world created which followed absolutely the Gore Verbinski rules of what this pirate world and how he was going to present this was going to be. And had he told me those rules when we were first starting to talk about it, I would have gone, whoa, this sounds really great. This is really yummy. This is fantastic. So the rules are part of that first moment of storytelling. When Guy phones me up and he goes, I'm working on a Sherlock movie and they're putting as temp music Dark Knight all over it and I don't like it, he's already giving me a hint to what the rules are going to be. And the way he, literally that first sentence in which he basically is going, I don't like your music. That unbelievably freeing, unbelievably liberating, and us going, Sherlock, what if he thinks differently? What if he doesn't play the Bach partita on the violin? What if it's like over there, gypsy music? So now we're starting to define a new set of rules, and we just, and it's a rule of aesthetic more than anything, I think. And you just stick to that. Brian Eno actually said this thing. Do you know what Play-Doh is? It's like sort of this it's like clay, multicolored clay. And it comes in all these beautiful colors. And, when you're a kid, you get all these beautiful colors. And you mush them all together. And it doesn't matter what combination you mush together. You always end up with brown. And so if you don't have rules, if you don't go, I'm going to use red and yellow. And that's going to be pretty cool for over here. And I'm going to use blue and yellow and all, whatever. You have to have certain rules, otherwise it's all just brown, and nobody's interested in just brown or beige, if you're even worse. So, for instance, the rules in Sherlock are, maintain some sort of intellectual integrity while at the same time having a lot of fun with it, but not too much fun, because occasionally you might want to go and turn sideways and get a little bit serious. But the other rule is, for Christ's sake, it's another Sherlock movie. How many Sherlock movies have there been? So let's not go and do certain things. Let's not go and do the big pretentious orchestral thing, which I break by reorchestrating Mozart in the middle of this. But it's not pretentious. Again, it's a game. So once you define the rules of the game, it's more fun to watch the game where somebody cheats in a clever way than where everybody plays totally by the rules. And I think that goes for everything. I can't think of a movie where I didn't set myself really strict rules to then just at one moment go, Let's break them, and because it adds a freshness to it, you know. Bit of cayenne pepper in the middle of the stew.